morning, everybody. Samori Benjamin here, WHCR Sports, WHCR 90.3 FM, here in our beautiful New York City, Harlem studios. What's going on, folks? There's a lot going on. The New York Knicks last night, their 9-game win streak came to an end at the hands of the GOAT, the greatest player of all time, LeBron James, the king. The Knicks are still 15-3 since New Year's Day. That's the best mark in the NBA. They've been playing fantastic, undermanned, but last night the king sent a lot of fans home sad from the Garden last night. All right? It was a big show. A lot of big names in the spot. A lot of people saved up lots of money to buy tickets to that game to see the Red Hot Knicks. And LeBron and AD, they burst the bubble of the Knicks. And by the way, a little later, I have a report from 15 years ago today, folks. No lie. 15 years ago today. Do you know what happened? The king, LeBron, came to Madison Square Garden and dropped 52 points and a triple-double. Yikes! And I was there, and I'm going to play the report that I did that night, 15 years ago today, a little later. But first thing at hand, New York Knicks, they have been playing amazing, folks, and they are shorthanded right now because they have, 3/4 starters not even playing. Julius Randle, The Rock, the Knicks All-Star 3 of the last 5 seasons, voted in by the coaches. Not a scenario where Carmelo Anthony getting voted in by the fans in a popularity contest when he has no business being in an All-Star game. But Julius Randle getting voted in by by the coaches, all right, 3 of the last 5 years, okay? Putting in that work here in New York City and helping lift the Knicks to places where, folks, they've only won 2 playoff series in the last 23 seasons, okay? Oh, my goodness, all right? So the kind of success the Knicks have had, okay, the last, this is going to be 3 and 5 seasons with Julius Randle that the Knicks have been in the playoffs. Hey, this is the best stretch for Knicks basketball since the Patrick Ewing days, okay? He has been hurt, we know, 8 days ago against Miami. He came crashing down to the floor in the fourth quarter. He hurt his shoulder, and he has not been able to play since then, and he is going to be out for a significant amount of time. Hopefully it's not too long, but he is out. And, of course, the man who, when he came, everything changed. OG Anunoby, all right, the trade edition that they got when they made the big deal. December 30th, it was made. The first game OG played was January 1st, okay? And 18 games. They've had 3 losses and 15 wins since he has not been playing the last 4 games now. And, of course, we know Mitchell Robinson, don't even count him because he's, of course, their normal starting center, but he's been out since early December. So they've been keeping on without him. And, all right, but he is someone who is not present, and there's reports that he'll be back before the year ends, all right? And, of course, Quentin Grimes, another big young piece of the team, he went down, the other night, twisted his ankle, but the Knicks still, all right, with all those guys out, were able to win in Indiana, okay, win at home against Indiana on Thursday night. That was a very big game because Indiana is the highest scoring team in the league. We know their point guard, Tyrese Halliburton, all right, we know how much damage he has done to the NBA this season, and he's someone who Jalen Brunson was competing with during the past summer, Team USA, as they were both battling for the starting point guard position. And since this year has started, we know Halliburton has gone crazy. His team, he led the Pacers to the first WNBA Commissioner's Cup tournament Pacers came in. They went all the way to the championship game of that in Las Vegas. They came out of the East, and Tyrese Halliburton, we know how he became a star during all that. Yeah, so him and Brunson have been battling it out since the Knicks. Really, the Knicks passed him up in the draft, but that was before they got Brunson. But this past summer, like I said, both of those guys were going head-to-head for the starting position. And now they had a meeting on Thursday night. Knicks, like I said, have all these guys out. Halliburton, he had been out himself with a hamstring injury. He is back now. He played on Thursday night, and it was the kind of game where the Knicks, being so shorthanded, they were down most of the game. They were down by, all right, between 10 and 15 points for a considerable amount of the game. And it looked like it was one of those games, right, the Knicks were on the verge of being down by 20 so many times in that game. And because all the guys missing, all right, and just the way Indiana is so fast-paced and they are an explosive offensive scoring team, you thought that this just might not be their night. They might not be able to hang in there with these guys, right? But what happens? They fight, they fight, they fight, they fight. They refuse to lose their star, their starting point guard, Jalen Brunson, who got the got the All-Star nod, his first ever All-Star nod before that game. And a lot of people felt like Jalen Brunson should be starting. And so Thursday night, during that game, with the win streak on the line, all right, it was 8 games on Thursday night, and the Knicks battled back. Jalen Brunson battled back. I mean, this guy made seem like every basket in the fourth quarter that this team needed, okay, just coming down time after time, dropping buckets, going in the lane, shooting floaters, shooting balls off the backboard, all right, as he drives in the lane, shooting three-point shots, okay, whatever he needs to do, he does, all right. Sometimes he is the shortest guy on the court, okay, but, and, you know, a cliche, don't want to use this cliche, but he's got the biggest heart on the court. But anyone watching the Knicks, watching this guy, you all understand, okay? These superlatives, no need for me to even throw any more out at this point. You all understand. And if you all have not seen the Knicks, all right, try everything you can, folks, okay? Whether you are, or I know if you're a basketball fan, you have. So if you're not the biggest basketball fan, folks, I tell you, New York City, you know, it's not often where the Knicks have a team that is worth talking about, worth getting excited for. If you have not seen this team, even if you consider yourself a non-sports fan, a non-basketball fan, check them out. They will interest you. The storyline is tremendous, okay? You don't even have to be a sports fan to understand how bad the Knicks have been over the years, okay? And it's been 51 years since, of course, they won a championship, but beyond that, they just haven't even been competitive most of the last 23 years, okay? All right? There's one thing where, okay, you're a good team, you get close, you're competitive, but you just don't win, you just fall short. There's a big difference from that to just being non-competitive, and the games aren't even worth watching, okay? That's what Knicks fans, New York City has had to endure most of the last 23 years, but right now that's not the case. But yeah, so Knicks, I mean, showing so much heart, but last night the King LeBron, he came in there, Anthony Davis, and these guys, look, Madison Square Garden is the place where all these star players, they love Madison Square Garden, playing at the Garden, okay? And they all talk about how the Garden is their favorite arena to play, okay? Jordan has said that. Reggie Miller, Kobe, LeBron, okay? List goes on and on and on. The greats, the world's most famous arena, so iconic. So many different events have taken place there, okay? And we remember last year when the Lakers came to town, came to New York, right? Sometimes the NBA, they try and make it a little easy for teams, right? If you're going to a city and there's 2 teams in the city, sometimes the NBA, they try and make it easy for a team by having when you go, if you're the Lakers and you come to New York, all right, you're going to play both of those New York teams on that trip, okay? Sometimes they make you fly in to play one of the teams and then fly somewhere else, and then later in the season, later down the schedule, you fly back again to play the other team, right? I mean, that really doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's how the NBA is. It's random, it's competitive, all right? So sometime last year, when the Lakers came to New York, they had the Nets and the Knicks on back-to-back nights. And, of course, the Lakers only come to play the Knicks at the Garden one time. They only go to Brooklyn to play the Brooklyn Nets at the Barclays Center one time. So when the schedule comes out, basketball fans living in New York City, they go, they check it out. When is LeBron? When is the King? When is the greatest player of all time coming to New York City so I can get a ticket? And we know he does not have too many more appearances left because he'll be 40 next year. But having said that, he's still playing at a elite level, okay? So we very well may have many, many more Madison Square Garden appearances, Barclays Center appearances. With the way he's going, it's up to him. However long he wants to continue playing, we know he wants to play with his son, all right? Bronny James, who is a freshman now at USC, will he enter the NBA draft after this season? Will LeBron be playing with his son next season? And that goal, that dream would be accomplished. Hey, LeBron has a younger son, we know, who's about a freshman in high school, I think, right? Does LeBron want to play with him too, all right? If that's the case, we have, at least another 4 or 5 years. But he's still playing at a high level. Every other 40-year-old we've known who has played in the NBA up to this point has been on their last legs at 40 years old, okay? On their last legs at the end of somebody's bench, okay? Doing nothing, all right? Being a glorified assistant coach out there. LeBron is anything but, okay? And that's why our Knickerbockers took an L last night, okay? That's why Knickerbocker fans saw their team, all right, have their 9-game win streak snapped at home, where the Knicks have played very well, all right? They have had lots of issues over the years protecting home court, winning at home. But guess what, folks? They're a good home team. All right, I don't want to, all right. Sometimes what's going on right now this season, it seems, all right, a little too good to be true. But, yeah, I mean, they are showing up how they did in the 90s when people came to the Garden, they were scared of getting a beat down, all right? We know that has not been the case since, all right, teams, stars come to the Garden. They like to show out. Well, the Knicks are making that a place where people, teams, they come now, and they understand that they have a fight on their hands. But, yeah, so we know that last year when LeBron and AD and the Lakers came to New York, they were in Brooklyn and then at the Garden. The Brooklyn game at the Barclays Center, LeBron did not play that game. So you had all these fans who bought tickets expecting him to be there, and then we hear, like, the night before the game, LeBron's not playing. So everyone who was going to that Brooklyn Lakers game last year was very disappointed. But the next night, they were playing at the Garden against the Knicks. And as my man Anthony Ford, what's up, Ant? Yeah, man, your Lakers got the W last night. I know you were very happy. I saw you with that number 7 Carmelo Anthony Laker jersey out there. I know you had a good time, you know what I'm saying? Rubbing it into Knicks fans, because, Knicks fans love Carmelo, but my man Ant had on the Laker Carmelo jersey, rubbing it in, and, yeah, man. And so I know you had a good time out there, and shout out to you for being there, and I know you had a great time. But as you see, Ant, I'm wearing the GOAT, you know what I'm saying? I know LeBron was not always your favorite player, but, he's holding your team down. But, yeah, but last year when Lakers came, all right, they did not play at the Barclays, but they play at the Garden, okay? LeBron loves playing at the Garden. And so this year, 2 nights before the Knicks played at the Garden, Madison Square Garden, Lakers had a game at the other Garden, the Boston Garden, and we know how the Lakers and Celtics have a huge rivalry, the Boston Garden, and all that. And, right, huge rivalry, Lakers versus Celtics. the game on Thursday for those two teams was a nationally broadcasted game on TNT, and LeBron and Anthony Davis, they did not play in that game. They saved all their efforts, all right, for last night, the spotlight game at the real Garden, the Garden that these players all want to play, okay? Not Brooklyn at the Barclays Center, not Boston Garden, no. Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. That's where the stars want to be at. And last night, LeBron and AD ended the Knicks streak. So, all right, they will look to start a new one on Tuesday night against Memphis. And the Lakers have a record of, I believe, 26-25. So the Knicks still this season have only lost to one team that had a losing record. That is the Utah Jazz. But the Utah Jazz right now are not below 500 at the moment, I don't believe, because they got hot and they're a good team. So the Knicks are not losing to bad teams, which we saw so much over the years. So yeah, the Lakers, like y'all know, all right, I have on the LeBron GOAT shirt. I want to see LeBron do well, right? And I said for so many years that if the Knicks are not in the championship fight when the playoff started, if the Knicks were not in it, I wanted to see LeBron win a championship every year. That was always my position. If the Knicks aren't in it, I want to see LeBron win a championship. So that's how I've always been. And of course, when the one time I root against LeBron is when he's playing the Knicks. All right, so you know, last night was a rough night for some Knicks fans, and as you're listening, how were the Knicks fans last night? I was not at the game last night. I was covering the HBCU doubleheader, and I'm going to get to that a little later, folks. I have some. If you're watching me on the internet or what have you, you might have seen some of the stuff that I put out there already. But the people listening on the radio have not heard it yet, so I'm going to play a little bit of that, at least one report. And I was mentioning how 15 years ago today, LeBron dropped 52-point triple-double at Madison Square Garden. Young LeBron, and I was there. I did a report on it. I'm going to play the report for you all in a little while here. And one of his teammates was Mo Williams, okay, a guard, Mo Williams. And Mo Williams is now the head basketball coach of Jackson State University. And Jackson State University, along with Grambling, Howard University, and Hampton University, four HBCUs, they played a HBCU doubleheader yesterday. It's called the Legacy Classic at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. A beautiful event, and I went to it. I covered it, and I spent the past couple of days there because I went to a practice session on Friday, and I interviewed the Howard coach, and I interviewed Mo Williams, and I'm going to play some of that for you a little later. I had some critical thoughts about the end of the Mo Williams interview. I'm going to get to that a little later. I was critical, and I did not like some of the things that he said about the HBCU and all that when I was asking him. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, as my man Ant says, it was rough last night for the Knicks fans. Yeah, I know it was, leaving there, and yeah, you know, you saw as I was coming back from the Legacy Classic, and you come into New York Penn Station, right where the Garden's at, and you see, I mean, there was a mob of people who were going to that game excited. I mean, the Garden's always sold out, but definitely you saw that extra excitement on people's faces as they were making their way to the Garden last night to see the greatest player of all time and the team playing the best in the NBA last night. So what a treat. And ooh, you know, there's been a lot of disappointing nights, all right, when you go to the Garden and the Knicks don't deliver. Last night they got beat, but definitely, like I said, being undermanned with some key guys out, right, you're amazed how well they played up to this point. And so they have, like I said, they are in a stretch right now where 12 of 14 games are at Madison Square Garden. And the two road games was at Brooklyn Nets, all right, and at the Charlotte Hornets, okay? So really, they only had one game outside of New York during this 14-game stretch. And that stretch ends on next Saturday, okay? They have 3 more games left in the stretch, okay? At home, okay, against Memphis Tuesday night. Then they have Luka and Kyrie. All right, Luka just dropped 73 points last Friday night. He comes to the Garden on Thursday night. And then next Saturday night, Indiana Pacers are back, all right? So the Knicks, during this stretch here, where, all right, 12-14 at the Garden, 13-14 in New York, they had only lost 1 game during that stretch up until last night. That was the very first game of the stretch against Orlando on Martin Luther King Day, January 15th at the Garden, and Jalen Brunson did not play in that game, right? So last night, all right, they won every game during this 14, all right, this 14, 13 out of 14 in New York, won every game except for that Orlando game and last night against LeBron. And again, they are 15-3 since New Year's Day, since getting OG, and OG has not even played the last 4 games, and the Knicks are still rolling. So as we take a look at the standings, the Knicks, as we look this morning, they are in the 4th spot in the Eastern Conference, okay? They are just a half game behind Cleveland for the 3rd spot, okay? And Cleveland is playing very well right now. Cleveland, they are the team who the Knicks played in the playoffs in the first round last year. The Knicks beat them in 5 games. So right now, both of them are surging. But the Knicks are a game and a half behind the Milwaukee Bucks for the 2nd spot. They were a half game before they lost last night because I believe Milwaukee won last night. So now the Knicks are a game and a half out of the 2nd spot. All right? That's really remarkable. And again, they have key players not even playing right now. But Jalen Brunson, I spoke about him last week. I really went into it, and he's been amazing, folks, all right? But last night, LeBron James, let me give you all a stat line for the all-time great LeBron. And Anthony Davis, he has had a really outstanding year as well. I want to definitely give him credit because he's somebody who has had injury issues over the years. He's had trouble staying on the court and answering the bell, but he has been very durable for the Lakers, and he puts up fantastic numbers, and they kept noting on the broadcast how he was making it very tough for JB to get into the lane to finish because Davis is such a imposing force defensively and an imposing shot blocker, and he was not making it. He was making Brunson and everybody second guess, and he was swatting shots. All right, AD had a number of blocks, and even when he does not have a block, he makes the offensive player think twice about going in there so they don't have their shot blocked. Now, AD on the night had 4 blocks, 18 rebounds, 12 points. He didn't have a big scoring night, but he was huge on the boards and defensively. He had 5 assists. The King, LeBron, had 24 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals, a block, just 1 turnover, and had some big buckets late. He shot 10 for 19, okay? The game high, we know who had the game high, JB, 36 points on 15 of 31 shooting, okay? That's efficient for a 6'2 guy. 10 assists, 6 boards. What can you say, folks? What can you say? His Villanova backcourt mate from college, they won 2 championships together. Dante DiVincenzo, he made 6 threes, 26 points. He's the guy who, he can light it up from outside. He makes a lot of 3-pointers, but he also misses a lot of shots at times too. And in the second half, he was missing a lot, like he was in the Indiana game, missed a lot of shots. And if he would have been a little more on, because in the 4th quarter, there was a 7-minute stretch in the 4th quarter, all right, late in the 4th quarter, where the Knicks did not score 1 point, and the Lakers are doing everything they can to get the ball out of Brunson's hands and to send however many people they have to at him, so he cannot make a shot. And no one else on the Knicks was making a basket, okay? So if DiVincenzo, he missed a number of shots. He even had, there was one situation, one possession where he took a deep three from about 35 feet out. He missed it. Knicks get the rebound. And then DiVincenzo ends up getting the ball back in his hands, like right in front of the three-point line. It's a much better shot than he shot before. But this time, he passes up and he throws it to somebody in the corner. They end up not scoring. I'm thinking to myself, you just took a three-pointer from 35 feet out. The Knicks need somebody to make a shot right here. You made a lot of shots, okay, for the team. Made a lot. He had the most three-pointers made in the month of January than anybody in the NBA, okay? So just took a 35-foot three-pointer. It's not a good shot. You miss. Then you get the ball right back, right in front of the three-point line. But because you just took a bad three-point shot and you've been off a little bit, you passed that shot up. And so that to me was a key moment during that 7-minute stretch when they couldn't score a point. That's how they lost the game, because they had the game, but they went 7 minutes with nobody could make a bucket. They lost the game. And as Anthony says, Brunson gets a lot of love. The MVP chant was serious. I give Brunson major respect. He balling. Excuse me. Yeah, he is. He's amazing, and he's amazing. And I spoke last week how people keep questioning him, and they keep not giving him the true credit all the time that he deserves, even though there's a long ways to go. The Knicks have not won a championship yet. They've only won, one playoff series so far with JB. This was just his second year. He's only had a chance to be in the playoffs with the Knicks 1 year, but we still, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. But like I was saying last week, you hear people talking to the media about him, and they give him credit, they give him respect, but they still they act like, oh, okay, it's nice, he's doing his thing, but they don't think the Knicks can win a championship with Jalen Brunson as their best player, right? A lot of people love to say that, and I keep saying he keeps getting that kind of slight, and he just keeps going out there and balling even more, all right? So make you think, and like I said, all right, last week, with the way they're playing right now, all right, and they're not even healthy. If they have everybody in there, and with the way Brunson is playing, all right, with the way Randall, all right, he has had his playoff questions, but if he can play the way we know he can play when the playoffs come with Brunson and with the other guys doing what they do, with the way the Knicks are playing, with the way they've played since they got OG Anunoby, what he's brought to the team, why can't they compete for a championship, all right? I mean, Philadelphia, Joel Embiid, he has injury issues right now. He has a torn meniscus in his knee. And even Joel Embiid, he's someone who, even when he's healthy, he has underachieved year after year in the playoffs, whether it's injury or he gets sick or whatever, okay? Like I said over and over again, Joel Embiid is the only NBA MVP who has never gotten to the conference finals, okay? So in the Knicks, the one time they played Philadelphia this year, okay? The one time they played Philadelphia this year so far, and they're going to play them 3 more times, okay? The one time they played them this year, it was at Philadelphia. January 5th, I was there. I did a story about it. I spoke to many Philadelphia Sixers fans, and there were a lot of Knicks fans in the building, right? Short trip. What happened that night, folks? Does anybody remember? January 5th, Knicks at Philadelphia. Knicks got their largest margin of victory in 41 years. Knicks got their highest margin of victory on the road in 52 years. All right? Well, it was 51 at the time. Well, no, I'm sorry. It was 52 years, yes. Since 1972. The Knicks beat Philadelphia this January 5th by 36 points. All right? Joel Embiid was healthy and able and everything, okay? All right? He had like a streak of 30-point consecutive games, 30-point games consecutively scored through weeks and weeks and weeks going on. He got his 30, and the Knicks won by 36. And Isaiah Hartenstein was swatting Joel Embiid's shot across the gym on several occasions. It was sweet. Embiid was frustrated with his teammates. It was funny to see him, and he's out there telling them what to do, getting frustrated. There was one possession where Embiid had his back, had the ball at the top of the key. He's backing down with his back towards the basket. He's backing down, and then Jalen Brunson sneaks behind him, steals the ball, dribbles down for a bucket. And you see the frustration on Embiid's face, right? I was sitting right there looking at him. And next possession, Philadelphia, they get the ball after JB gets a steal and the bucket. And Philadelphia comes down. Embiid calls for the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. He gets the ball again, right? He makes a move, goes into the paint. And then Isaiah Hartenstein comes and just swat his shot across to half court. And the Knicks get a fast break again, another bucket. It was beautiful, okay? So why can't the Knicks, if they are healthy, win the Eastern Conference, okay? And the Boston Celtics, look, last year I was telling y'all this, all right? Last year the playoffs came and Miami handled them and Miami handled Boston as well. But, all right, last year, close to this time, okay? Definitely towards the end of February, early March, until the rest of the regular season, I felt the Knicks could beat any team in the East. And we know that the Knicks, they beat the Boston Celtics last season. The last 3 times they played them, they beat the Celtics in Boston, okay? So they did that. We know they can play with them, all right, with the way Knicks have not played Boston since they got OG, okay? Since that chemistry has gone to an all-time high since the Patrick Ewing years, all right? That chemistry, that, man, the Knicks have been playing well. So the Knicks, if they can get everybody healthy, all right, come playoff time, why can't they get to the finals? And then in the finals, I mean, which teams are so unbeatable? The Nuggets, we saw the Knicks play the Nuggets at the Garden about, 10 days ago or so. Knicks ran them off the court, okay? The Clippers, first time James Harden played with the Clippers, his first game, he played at the Garden in November. Knicks beat him. Granted, I understand Clippers are a much different team now. They have their chemistry together, and that would definitely be a great matchup, right? But, of course, a lot more work needs to be done, but I'm just saying that the Knicks are for real. Jalen Brunson is for real, okay? And the trade deadline is in about 4 days or so. It's this Thursday coming up. So let's see if the Knicks make a move, right? And, you know, before they got on this run where they won 15 of the last 18, 15-3 since New Year's Day. Before that, for a long time, I said the Knicks need a third all-star scorer. I said that, I believe that, and a big reason was because I just feel like come playoff time, you need guys who can make shots, and Jalen Brunson needs help. We saw last year in the playoffs, his first year with the Knicks in the playoffs, he was great, all right, in that Miami series. He was there answering the bell, scoring 30, setting Knicks records every game. But unfortunately, Julius Randle, you know, I'm a big Julius guy. He was not reliable at all in that series in the playoffs. He had a couple of moments, okay? You know, he's my guy. But he was not nearly consistent enough, all right? So I just feel like you need a third guy as well, okay? Just so when you have one or two of your big 3 guys having an off night, you have at least one of them is going to be there to be on fire, to carry the weight, right? And when all 3 of them are on, they're really, really tough to beat. And I felt like another third all-star scorer, add to the mix, now you have 3. They make it easier, all of them on each other, okay? Because you can't just focus on one dude. You got 3 killers out there that can ruin your night, okay? So that was my position, all right? And when you watch the game like last night, when Knicks are battling, they're playing good defense, they're scrapping, getting big rebounds, they're battling. Jalen Brunson is doing what he does, scoring big buckets, but then, all right, every game, he's not going to be able to make every shot in the fourth quarter when the game's on the line, okay? And when that happens, you need other guys to step up and help him and make shots. And I just said they went 7 minutes in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter, without scoring a point. So when JB was not able to put it in the hole and you got 2-3 guys coming towards him every time he gets the ball, other guys have to make shots. And we saw in the playoffs against Miami last year, same scenario. No one but Brunson can make a shot. That's why the series did not get back to a Game 7 at the Garden last year. All right, because no one could make a shot but JB. And last night, that's how it looked. Again, no Randall, no OG. If they were there, you definitely feel like the Knicks would have been able to power through and win that game. But Knicks just need Julius to be that guy that can, okay, in the playoffs, you got to make a lot of buckets too. You have to be reliable. I just felt like adding a third guy, okay, boom. Now you don't have to rely on Julius to be that number 2 guy, all right, to be that number 1 guy in the playoffs, right? But like I said, I believe in Julius, and like I said, with how the Knicks are playing right now, playing so well, the chemistry is at an all-time high. You don't even want to make any big moves with this roster, right? But now, with some key injuries, you never know what the Knicks might be thinking. You never know how long Randall's going to be out. I mean, when he got hurt, it looked like he could be out for the year. When you saw how he reacted, and you read some reports from some doctors, and you never know, all right? Some guys get injuries, and you don't know how bad it is. It might look like nothing, and then you get a report, they have this torn, that broke, they're out for the year, right? You hear that just out of nowhere sometimes, right? Mitchell Robinson, when he got his, what might be a season-ending injury, I mean, they say that there's a chance he could come back later, but when he first got hurt, he looked like he had a little, it didn't even look like his injury was that serious. And then you get a report a day or two later that he's out for the year. Like, what? So Julius' injury looked bad. And we're already in February now, so you're thinking if he has an injury that is too serious, I mean, it's only about, 2 or 3 months left. He might not even be able to return. So, but they said in 2 or 3 weeks they're going to reevaluate him and all that. So, that's a big question mark. That's a big question mark for the Knicks because of him, that big piece being down right now, it's a big question mark hovering over them and what they can do once these playoffs come, but there's still about 2.5 months until we get to there. But, if the Knicks are healthy, Randall and OG Anunoby, then they could do something. But, all right, so we have some time, though, folks, all right? So one thing I want to do for you all, okay, I want to play 15 years ago today. And really quickly, before I get to that, I just want to talk about LeBron and the Lakers really quickly, where they are in the standings. The Lakers right now, they are the number 9 seed currently in the West at 26 and 25. They are 3 games behind Phoenix for the 6th spot, which, if you get the 6th spot in the West or in the East, you don't have to play in the playing games. But if you finish spots anywhere between 7 and 10, then you have to play in the play-in at the end of the year to try and play your way into the playoffs. And right now, the 4 teams in that 7 through 10 in that play-in situation are some good teams. Number 7 is a team who, my guy who I love watching is on that number 7 team right now, New Orleans Pelicans. I'm talking about Zion Williamson. They're actually tied with Phoenix for the number 6 spot, okay? Number 8, they come to the Garden on Thursday night. Dallas, Luka, all right? Scored 73 points last Friday night, okay? That was the 4th or 5th highest scoring game in NBA history, okay? So they're number 8, and we know he has Kyrie with him too. So that's a lethal combination. And 9, of course, the Lakers are. And then number 10, Utah, who the Knicks beat on Tuesday night. And they had been the one team who the Knicks had lost to this year with a losing record But Utah, when the Knicks played Utah again, Utah's record was not below 500, but right now at the moment it is 24-26, and they are ending number again, 10 spot. All right, so as I was saying, 15 years ago today, folks, LeBron James had a masterful performance against the New York Knicks, okay? He came to the Garden, and he dropped 52 points on the Knicks. He had a triple-double going. A triple-double. When the game was over, he had a triple-double. And then, like, the next day, they took away a rebound or an assist. So he did not. So one of the three categories, he did not have the double in. But that was taken away, like I said, a day or two later. But the report from 15 years ago today, a young LeBron, a young Samori B, okay? And this right here is what went down.
Right wing, LeBron, guarded by David Lee. He's got 44. Moves right side of the key between the legs. Rise and fire. In and out. Too far, rebounded too high. Here come the Knicks. He finds Robinson on the right side. Drives right baseline. Pulls up. And buries it. Young. Nate. Robinson. And the Knicks are down by one. 96-95. 4:32 to play in the fourth from the world's most famous arena. Fans chanting defense. LeBron, left side of the lane, back to the basket, faces on Thomas now, swings it in front, five to shoot, drives to the bucket, left hand off the glass, and in. He has 46.
And there's no better theater than the stage of New York City. And after Kobe Bryant came into Madison Square Garden on Monday night and dropped 61 points on the New York Knicks with relative ease, the King, LeBron James, circled his calendar for Wednesday night, where he too wanted to put on a show in front of the New York City crowd, and he did not disappoint. Unlike the Lakers game, the Knicks had a chance to pull out a victory down the stretch, but LeBron James is too good for a Knicks team who are trying to find themselves after the Isaiah Thomas years, and the King posted the 21st triple-double of his career last night with 52 points, 10 rebounds, and 11 assists to push the Cleveland Cavaliers past the Knicks, 107-102. Much like Bryant's performance on Monday night, the stars were sitting out courtside on Wednesday night, including Jehovah Jay-Z, who never misses a Garden appearance by King James, and the crowd got to see the first player in NBA history to record a triple-double while scoring 50 points since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did it in 1975.
You guys see in every phase of my game tonight, the scoring, the rebounding, the assists, and defensively, just to try to attack the opposing team. So, if it's so, I never thought that you could look at the box score and see somebody with 50 with a triple-double, but it's happened.
Cleveland Cavaliers head coach Mike Brown is a witness to the King James show on a daily basis, and he is simply amazed.
I have no answers for it. I don't know how it happened and why he's able to do some of the things that he does. I look at his little mom and I'm just amazed that she gave birth to LeBron, and I don't know how he came out like that, but he's an unbelievable talent. But more importantly, she did a terrific job raising that man, and it shows with his character too.
And at just 24 years of age, King James also joins Michael Jordan as the only visiting players ever to score 50 points at Madison Square Garden twice in their careers.
Anytime you can be put in a class with a guy like Michael Jordan, it does a lot. That's a guy I looked up to growing up as an idol of mine. And no one would ever get to that level Mike was at, but to be in the class with him, be mentioned in the same breath as him, it's an honor for me as an individual.
So the King put on quite a show at the Garden on Wednesday night, and everyone knows the Knicks are lining up with a number of teams to make a run at signing LeBron when he may become a free agent in the summer of 2010. And if you're a Knicks fan, you have to be encouraged by these thoughts right here.
Well, this is definitely, I can't say that this is the same as any other road game. It's not, because it's the mecca of basketball. A lot of things have happened in this building. A great history. The fans have seen a lot. This is, like Kobe said, this is the last building that's still alive. And it's just a different feeling when you come in this building. It's feel like you're on stage and playing a game of basketball more than doing on court, because of the fans, how the lighting is in here, and then you think about the history of the game. So many great performances, so many great coaches and players, and so many great people have come through here. You can't. There's no way for me to ever think that this is just another road game as an individual.
As for the home team, New York Knicks, they now have a 2-game losing streak, and for the second game in a row, they had an opposing player come into their building with intentions of putting on a show at their expense, and they couldn't stop it.
Well, the sad thing is, I'm sure LeBron looked and said, I probably won't be able to get 61, so I'll just get a triple-double. He didn't do that. And, that's how they are. And that's, you got to take your hat off to those guys. They're the best. But, and I told you before, one of these days we're going to get to the point where it's going to be about us. It's not going to be about them, or it's not going to be who's coming in. It's about us playing as well as we can play.
And head coach Mike D'Antoni knows trying to guard the king is like picking your poison.
When he says he reads the game, he reads the game. If we're not doubling, then he's going to go. If we double, he had to pass, and they would have won that way. I had to make a choice in which way we're doing it, and then he's going to read whatever happens. But he's going to be very good no matter what we do.
And finally, the Knicks will play the world champion Boston Celtics on Friday night, which will conclude their week of playing the teams with the 3 best records in the show, the Lakers, Cleveland, and Boston. And according to the Elias Sports Bureau, this is the first time a team has played 3 straight games against opponents with a winning percentage of .750 after February 1st since the Celtics did it in February 1995. This is Samori Benjamin, and that's sports. All right, folks, so that was me. That was LeBron 15 years ago today. And, yeah, I had not heard that in a long time. And like I said in that report, the game before that, the Knicks played against Kobe and the Lakers, and Kobe dropped 60 that night. And I did a report on that, too. I should play that. If I had that set up right now, I would play that as well. And maybe I'll get that posted up before I leave, and I'll play that for y'all. Because that was, I'll try and do that. Because that was another really good one as we reach 12 o'clock here, WACR Sports. I'm Samori Benjamin, and yeah, I'm going to try and get that one up there for you all as well. So as I talk to you all, I'm going to look for that one. But yeah, one thing about that, excuse me, one thing about that is the Knicks, first of all, again, shout out to my 2 high school classmates, Anthony Ford and also Andrew Steinhandler was at the game last night too, and I wasn't there, so I missed him. I was, like I said, I was at the HBCU events in Newark, had a great time there. That always brings joy to my heart to be able to go to an event like that. It brings back a lot of memories for me from my childhood, and my dad taking me to HBCU football games that came up here every year. And it was something that went away for a while. And that game actually came back recently, the football game, even though they have it at the Red Bulls Stadium now. And there was a HBCU game played at Giant Stadium actually too this year, but it was two smaller HBCU schools that are not, because the top 2 HBCU conferences in terms of teams is the MEAC and the SWAC. And those are the premier sports conferences in HBCU. So the game that was at Giant Stadium this year, it was 2 smaller HBCU football conference teams. And I think one of them might have been Morehouse. I'm not sure. Morehouse has never had a serious football team. I forget the 2 schools, but great to see this basketball game now 3 years it's been going on. It's been organized by the actor Michael B. Jordan. He's from Newark. It's a great event that he has put together. And yes, I'll get to that in a couple more minutes. So that's something that we are going to transition to in a little bit. And LeBron James, right? So, as I said, the Knicks played against, that was like considered hell week at the time for the Knicks because they had to face Kobe and the Lakers. And I mentioned at the end of that report that the Knicks had to face these 3 teams with the best records in the NBA at that time. And Cleveland Lakers with Kobe and the Celtics, who were the reigning champions at the time. The Celtics were. And that was just a time when the Knicks were not a good team. That was the first year they had Mike D'Antoni. And as I mentioned in the report, the Knicks their whole plan at that time was to try and get LeBron James in free agency. So they were putting all their focus and they were putting their energy into being able to lure LeBron to Madison Square Garden the summer of 2010. So this game that we just heard was February of 2009. So there was still about a year and a half to go before the Knicks had a chance to woo and pitch to Kobe Bryant to LeBron James. As I see my Kobe Bryant track report from 2 nights before that night. All right, so I'm uploading it for you all. I'm going to play that for you all too, all right? And so the Knicks had about, still 16 months or so before they had the chance to try and sign LeBron as a free agent. And LeBron, we heard him talking 15 years ago about what the Garden meant to him, how special it was. And so we think about just like last night, how 15 years later, LeBron is still at the Garden rocking, and we know how much he wants to play, how important it is for him to play in that building. I mentioned the Lakers had a game at the other Garden on Thursday night, but the other Garden is not as important as the world's most famous arena on Broadway, 34th Street, all right, really 33rd, but LeBron and AD, they didn't play against the Celtics at the Boston Garden. They were resting up. And last night, they laced it up, and they ruined the Knicks' win streak. So, the Knicks, of course, they played the Lakers earlier in the season in Los Angeles. The Knicks got the win then, okay? Knicks got the win then. So Knicks and Lakers, they play 2 times this season, and the Knicks, even though they lost last night, they have beat LeBron and the Lakers this season. So the 2 teams will tie 1-1 on the season, and of course, Knicks, Lakers, always a big rivalry. Only 2 times the Knicks have won the championship, of course, in their history. They were playing against the Lakers. 1970, the Knicks won the championship. And then, of course, 1973, they won it again. And they were playing against the Lakers. Okay, so I'm going to try and get that Kobe piece from 15 years ago up as well. I'm going to get back to that in a minute. Also wanted to mention the New Jersey Nets really quickly. They had a game yesterday in Philadelphia, and shout out to their third-year scoring star, Cam Thomas. He had 40 points last night for the Nets in Philadelphia. They beat Philadelphia. I mentioned before, Joel Embiid the reigning league MVP, a man who we saw score 70 points about 2 weeks ago, someone who has been a dominant force this season. He's scoring, averaging about, 36 points a game, something insane like that. He's out for a while, right, with a torn meniscus, so Philly does not have him. Interesting note in last night's game, we know Ben Simmons, he asked out of Philadelphia. The Philadelphia fans hate him, and he played last night, just his second game that he's played for the Nets since he came back from his injury. I was in Brooklyn on last Monday night, for his return after a hiatus. He had not played since the first 6 games of the season, late October, early November. Then he had some nerve issues with his back and all that, nerve impingement. There's always been something with him the last 3 years or so. He has hardly played. And really the last 4 years, last 3 years, yeah. He's really played. And so he came out on Monday night in his return, and they played Utah, and he almost had a triple-double, okay? He is a great passer. We know he likes to pass. He does not like to shoot the ball that much. Last night, okay, in Philadelphia. So in Philadelphia, Philly fans hate him. We know how he ducked ever playing there once he forced himself out of Philadelphia, right? We know the first time or two the Nets played at Philly, he didn't want to play, and it was the whole big scene, the whole big mess. So he was back. He played on Monday, right, after being out for all these months. Then the very next game, on Wednesday night, which happened to be Kevin Durant's return to Brooklyn, all right, after he forced himself out last year. That game, Ben Simmons, the next game after his return, he does not play. He's hurt already again. But last night, he was able to answer the bell, and he played in Philadelphia in front of that crowd. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that he played in that game. And he did not take one shot in the game, okay? He had about 9 rebounds, 5 assists, all right, something like that. But he didn't take one shot. Craziness, man. But Cam Thomas held it down. The Nets got that victory yesterday, and the Nets are trying to not get buried in the standings themselves. When KD came back, KD, of course, easily handled them. That was their last game before last night in Philadelphia. The Nets right now, for anyone who cares, I know it's not many of y'all. I know the Nets hardly have any fans. Nets right now have 20 wins and 28 losses in the 11th spot. And as I wrap up the Knicks, and what's unbelievable is that the Knicks were at 500. They might have even been a game below 500, right, in the end of December. Right now, they have a record of 32 wins, 18 losses, and of course, since January 1st, since acquiring OG Anunoby, the Knicks are 15-3. So when you're 15-3, you can wake up on February 4th and see your record at 32-18. Okay. Now, I'm going to move to, as we are a week away from the Super Bowl, and I mentioned this is the first Sunday with no NFL since early September, but it's okay because you have me to listen to, right? So it can't all be bad. And NBA, so much going on. But the event that I most enjoyed this week, that I look forward to the most, that I even passed up the King and the Knicks for yesterday, was the HBCU LEGACY Classic in Newark, New Jersey at the Prudential Center, okay? And if you know anything about me, if you listen to this show, you've heard me go off when it comes to the subject of HBCUs and the slight that some like to attach to that, starting with Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. I went through that. All right, you all heard me go off 2 or 3 times talking about Coach Prime and how I feel like he used HBCUs. And there's a head basketball coach now at Jackson State I have issues with, Mo Williams, LeBron's former teammate. Y'all heard that clip, the report I played from 15 years ago where LeBron had a 52-point triple-double? His teammate, Mo Williams, that was one of his teammates that night. Mo Williams, I spoke with him 2 days ago. He is now the Jackson State head coach, basketball. I'll play it for you in a minute. I do not like the question. I do not like how he responded to a couple of questions I had about HBCU. And we know that he's only at an HBCU because he can't play in the NBA anymore. So he wants a good job. He wants to coach. And no non-HBCU is giving him an opportunity. So he wants to coach. He gets the opportunity from the HBCU, but he don't know anything about HBCU. Don't know what don't. Like I said before, I always say, I went to an HBCU. I wanted to go to an HBCU. Like I wanted to. I'm from New York. Okay, there are no HBCUs in New York. I went out of my way to go to one. Okay, it meant something to me to go to an HBCU. But you got some of these coaches, all right, who were stars in athletics, to never consider going to an HBCU. Okay, I get it. Okay, you're trying to go pro. You feel like your best way to get to the pros is to run off to one of these PWIs, predominantly white institutions, because those, I've been through this over and over again. No need to repeat it, but I get it. Okay, I get it. But don't take a job as the head coach of the HBCU, and because you have some definition in your head of what an HBCU is, because you never wanted to go, because you never took it seriously, you never considered it, don't now come here and have all these notions where you don't even want to even really be known or referred to as an HBCU. That's really what Jackson State head coach Mo Williams basically said to me, right? Because I'm asking him questions, and I'll get to that in a minute. But you have a lot of these pampered, spoiled black athletes who have been put on a pedestal their whole life, do not even consider going to HBCU, all right? Which, all right, they all should be going to, all right? But I've been through that. I don't have time to talk about that, all right? Like I said, I get it. But because you go to these PWIs and everybody kisses your butt and you're pampered, okay? All right? And don't come to an HBCU and look down on it. And when I'm talking to you about it being an HBCU, what's the experience like and all this? How can you get through to some of these talented black kids to go play to an HBCU? Like don't have a hang up about it being an HBCU. I'm gonna get to that in a minute, okay? But the event yesterday was special, all right? Like I said, I grew up on an event like that, and I look forward to going to it every year when I was a kid. And I'm great. I'm very happy to see Michael B. Jordan bring this HBCU basketball classic to Newark, New Jersey. It would be even better if they had it at the Garden or the Barclays Center one year. Okay, that would be dope. But Michael B. is from Newark, New Jersey, and so he's having it in his home city, and shout out to him, okay? And because as long as he wants to continue doing it, no one should move it out of Newark because he brought it there. But it's a great event, and just seeing all the people there from the various HBCUs. And of course, last year I was very excited because my school, Norfolk State University, was in the game last year, right? And that was amazing because Norfolk State is not, even though we're in the premier HBCU conferences, right? The premier, I said there's 2 Division I HBCU conferences, the MEAC and the SWAC. Norfolk State is in the MEAC. But Norfolk State is not one of the first HBCUs you hear. When you hear people talk about HBCUs, it's always, all right, Howard. Our rival, Hampton University, Morgan State, Morehouse, Spelman, Florida A&M, Grambling, all these different schools. Norfolk State is where I went, okay? Norfolk State is what I rep, all right? And we were in the game last year. We played our rival, Hampton, and whenever we play them in VA, right, when we play them during the year, normally it was twice a season. We play them at Hampton and they play at Norfolk State. It's called the Battle of the Bay, okay? The Battle of the Bay. Basketball, like I said, the two schools will always play twice. Football, of course, one meeting a season. 1 year it's at Norfolk State, 1 year it's at Hampton. Like I said, when I was a kid, my dad would take me to the Urban Whitney Young Classic football game, right? First at Yankee Stadium, then at Giant Stadium, always Grambling and another HBCU school. A lot of years it was Hampton, okay? And I remember Howard, Morgan State, and it was always a cool thing. But so Norfolk State, right, they have us in the game last year, the Legacy Classic, the basketball game that I attended yesterday. We're playing against Hampton, and right. So Hampton is, I said before, Hampton always seemed very cool to me. As a kid, they would come up here, the blue uniforms, all right, the beautiful people that you would see at the game, and it always seemed like it was right on the water and so cool, right? But I said before that growing up, baseball was my number one sport, and when you're in high school, you still have visions and dreams of going somewhere playing a sport. My sport was baseball. Hampton does not have a baseball team, so when I was coming out of high school, I wasn't going to go there. I wanted to play baseball, and Howard had a very prestigious baseball program, and Howard no longer has a baseball team, okay? And it's a reflection. I don't know about Hampton. I don't know if Hampton ever had a baseball team, but I know Howard did. They don't anymore, and it's because it's a reflection of the decline in interest in baseball amongst Afro-American youth and just Afro-Americans, period, right? Which is sad, and I've been through that issue a lot of times, and I'll get back to it later. But Norfolk State, though, they had us in Hampton last year at the Legacy Classic, and like I said, Norfolk State is not one of the HBCUs that you normally see mentioned, and so to be invited to be in this game last year, it meant a lot. It was very special. I was there, no doubt about it, and we won. We won the game. So I was very disappointed to see us not in the game this year. It was Hampton who we beat, so I feel like we beat Hampton, we should be in the game. So it was Hampton and Howard, right? Yesterday. Howard, Hampton, and Norfolk State are MEAC schools. But Hampton left the MEAC a few years ago. And someone who I'm going to have on next week, a guy, Ray Rogers, he covers HBCU basketball. And I met him yesterday. He's going to come on with us next week. And he was telling me that he thinks Hampton should come back to the MEAC, and he was just saying how they have not been able to compete in their new conference, which, again, is sad because when you're at HBCU, like, you should have, in theory, the top black talent in the country on your team, at least some of it, but they have none of it, unfortunately. So when a lot of these teams, when they go to a conference where the competition is better, they can't compete, which is sad. I've been through this. This is why I'm so passionate about this stuff. And if you go to an HBCU, as great as it is to be there, great as it is to be at HBCU function, HBCU sporting event, right? I mean, it's a black thing, but then you're looking at the teams, right? The basketball and football teams, the two sports that generate so much revenue for whichever university in this country has the top teams, And you got to look at your team, your school, and you're just like, yo, this is sad. It's not competitive. It's like the third or fourth talent of the black community, you know, like playing for the HBCU, and it should be the other way around. And, right? And so, yeah, man, if you're a big-time sports fan, which I am, which many people are, if you're a big-time sports fan, you want to see the sport played at the highest level. So some people don't even like watching college because they like the NFL. The NFL, the sport played at the highest level. Okay, so if you watch college football, you want to see the college football played at the highest level. So we're forced to watch the PWI schools because they're the ones that have the best black athletes, right? I mean, you see, all these teams are dominated by black athletes, all right? And then none of them are at HBCUs or considering it. So I've been through this a lot, okay? But I'm very passionate about this, okay, as you all know. So, right, so it was disappointing not to see Norfolk State in the game yesterday. And even so, Hampton left the MEAC, but Howard is still in the MEAC. Norfolk State, we won the MEAC 2 straight years, right, to make it to the NCAA tournament. And basically the way it is because the talent level at HBCUs is not that great, and these teams are not the most talented teams of all the college teams in the country, they only let 2 HBCU schools into the NCAA tournament, and the way it's determined which HBCUs are going to be in the NCAA tournament are, right, I said there's two Division I HBCU conferences, the MEAC and the SWAC. So the 2 HBCU teams that are going to be determined is whichever teams win the conference tournament. So these schools, they play an entire basketball season, right? Lots of games. They play lots of games within their conference. It doesn't matter how good any of them do during the regular season. They could go undefeated, okay, in conference play. And it does not matter. If they don't win their conference tournament at the end of the season, they're not going to be invited to the NCAA tournament. And you could be a team, all right, in HBCU and the MEAC or the SWAC, and not win one game in conference all season, but you get to that tournament at the end of the year, you win 3 or 4 games, and then boom, you're in the NCAA tournament. So it's kind of crazy. So my point was that, well, there's a couple of points, right? One of them is just it's sad how the HBCUs can't get the better of the black talent pool, but Norfolk State, we won the conference the last 2. Going into last year, we had won that conference tournament 2 straight years, which is how we got to the NCAA tournament. Then last year, we were going for a 3rd straight MEAC conference championship, and we were playing Howard. We should have won a game. We were up by 3 points with like 20 seconds left, something like that. Up 3 points with the ball. Excuse me. And then we ended up turning the ball over. And then when Howard gets the ball, next possession, they're down by 3. They go to the basket. They make a basket, and we foul. They make the free throw. So now it's a tie game. It goes into overtime, and we lose. So that was like so disappointing and frustrating. But Howard and Hampton, the battle of the HUs, right? Always hear that, the battle of the HUs, Howard and Hampton. So they played yesterday. That was a cool game. Hampton came out on top. And, yeah, but it was very cool last year to have the Battle of the Bay in Newark, New Jersey. Hampton and Howard. That was really cool. That was really, really fun. Always look forward to the Battle of the Bay when you were in school and playing Hampton and all that. So that was always very cool. Now, one thing, I got to call out my school. I have to call my school out. Last year, I forgot about this. And I remember this yesterday, sitting there. And I said, you know what? As much as I'm disappointed that Norfolk State was not invited back this year, you know what? They, on the grounds of one thing, they might have done it to themselves, okay? And I forgot about this, but I was very disappointed last year. I was very disappointed last year sitting, all right, at that game, and there were, you know, there was a New York chapter of Norfolk State alum, and we had a suite, right? Awesome. But I was very disappointed in my school because we did not send our band last year, the Spartan Legion. How? What? How could that be possible? And then some people were telling me that they were in some band competition somewhere else in the country, and somewhere there was some band competition, and they were there, and not at the Legacy Classic broadcast on TNT. All right, with the other HBCU bands, and I mean Hampton had their band there, and they're beautiful dancers that accompany the band. All right, the cheerleaders, like where we at? You know what I'm saying? So that to me was disappointing last year, and so maybe yes, on the grounds of that, they lost the privilege of being invited to the game this year. You know, I don't know. So that was one thing I was very disappointed about last year. I had forgot about that. And as I sat back yesterday and enjoyed the great bands and the cheerleaders and the steppers and the women dancers, as I sat back and enjoyed that the way I had since I was a kid, that's the big reason why I wanted to go to HBCU. Okay, a big reason why. Okay. All right, and when I was there, the Battle of the Bands, Hampton, Norfolk State, every time we played Hampton, it was the Battle of the Bands. And then last year, here we are on a somewhat national stage, all right, TNT, Newark, here we go, Battle of the Bands, Hampton's there, the Spartan Legion, our band, they don't show up, so that was disappointing. So hopefully we can get back in that game, all right, hopefully next year, all right, and if that happens again, Norfolk State administration, hello, bring the band, okay? Bring the band. All right. So, as I was telling you all, there was some stories I did, all right? First, I'm going to play an interview that I did with you all, okay? I mean, that I did yesterday, that I did over the weekend surrounding this classic, all right? And, before I get to that, I do want to mention this, okay? Norfolk State, all right? Norfolk State is the last HBCU to win an NCAA tournament game, okay? That was 2012. We know we have the conference MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year that year, Cal O'Quinn, big man, who actually is from Queens, New York here, and he is someone who, he got drafted, all right, off of that, all right? A Norfolk State University player drafted in the modern era, that's unheard of. But Cal O'Quinn, he made us all proud. That team made us all proud. We got to the NCAA tournament for the first time, and I believe, because I told you all, in order for an HBCU to get to the NCAA tournament, does not matter what they do during the regular season. Nope, that does not matter. They have to win their conference tournament. I believe we beat Hampton in the championship game that year, 2012, to make our first ever bid to the NCAA tournament. Then we get there, and what happens? We are a 15 seed. Cinderella City, baby. We knocked off University of Missouri, okay? They were stunned. I still remember the faces of those players, okay? Remember the former NBA player, Paul Pressey? He had a son on that team. I think he had 2 sons on that team. I still remember his face, one of his son's faces after that game. And Cal O'Quinn was saying good game to one of them, giving him a hug. And you could see the shock on his face that they fell to number 15 seed HBCU, Norfolk State University. Woo! That was a great moment, okay? Great moment. Made all of the Norfolk State alumni proud. So that was the last time an HBCU school won an NCAA tournament game, okay? Norfolk State. Put respect on the name. Also, I want to say, all right, I want to point out the last NBA Hall of Fame induction that took place, okay? The last one in 2023. There was a Norfolk State University Spartan who was inducted to the draft, okay? He won championships with the Milwaukee Bucks, okay, with Oscar Robertson and Lou Alcindor. And then he won another one, all right, closer to home with the Washington Bullets, the Baltimore Bullets, all right? Mr. Bobby Dandridge, okay? Shout out to him. We had a Hall of Famer this year, and we are the last HBCU school to, again, win an NCAA tournament. Put respect on the name. Norfolk State University, you already know. All right, now I'm going to give you this interview. I gave you all LeBron and I from 15 years ago. All right, this man right here was a teammate of the great LeBron James 15 years ago. He is now the head coach of the Jackson State University men's basketball team, okay? So there's two different parts we want to play for you all. The first part is right here, and I start off talking to him about how I do a lot of my interviews with these guys. I like to get their life, their basketball life, baseball life, what have you. So this one right here is light, all right, talking about his beginnings, and then it got a little more serious in part two. But I'm going to give you all this one, okay? We're back. HBCU event here this weekend at the Prudential Center in Newark. I'm here with Jackson State basketball head coach and former NBA player, 13, 14-year veteran, Mo Williams. Mo, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely, man. Pleasure having you.
All right, so this is a great event. I came last year, and my school, Norfolk State, last year was in the game. And you are the coach here. Now, first, I know you're from Mississippi.
Yep, from Jackson.
Yeah,
Born and raised.
Awesome. First, I'm just interested how you got into basketball just coming up in Jackson, Mississippi.
Well, Jackson, Mississippi is it's a dog-eat-dog world, right? It's a lot of crime infested. So it's easy to get caught up in the streets. So at a young age, I started out playing baseball at the age of 3. Started playing basketball at the age of 8. And played football right around 10. So I just stayed active, as a young athlete, and fell in love with all 3 sports, and decided in high school, my senior year, to just stick with basketball.
I'm interested. So you said you started playing baseball at the age of 3. Baseball is a sport where I know there's not a lot of Black Americans playing right now, and something that I've looked into for a while. So how was your baseball experience just growing up?
It was love. I mean, obviously, I was better in baseball than basketball. Basketball, I just got more notoriety, but I was better in baseball. Everybody that know me, especially back home, understands that. I love baseball to this day. I go to baseball games. I like watching high school baseball, college per se, but baseball is my first love. Obviously basketball is my second love, and football is my third love. So at what point did you stop playing baseball and just focus towards my senior year in high school?
Okay.
My senior year in high school, I made, McDonald's All-American game, and at the time it was the Adidas Round Ball, which is the Jordan game right now. So I made all those games, and they kind of carried over into baseball season. By the time I got done with all those games, it was end of the baseball season. So the only time I didn't play baseball was my senior year in high school.
Did you have a favorite player, baseball and basketball?
Andrew Jones,
okay.
Andrew Jones, I'm a Braves fan, so I played shortstop, and but he played center field, but he was my favorite player. I wore 25. Grew up wearing the number 25, so he was 25. So I just grew a liking to him. I was a baseball fan. Basketball-wise, Gary Payton was always my favorite player growing up. So, and I had that, and I'm a 49er fan as far as football, and Jerry Rice was always my favorite player. He's from Mississippi also.
And he went to Jackson State, yeah.
He went to Valley, Mississippi Valley.
I'm sorry, right. Walter Payton went to Jackson State, yeah.
And Lindsey Hunter. Went to Jackson State.
That's right, I remember that.
I don't think he get enough credit.
Yes.
But he went to Jackson State, Lindsey Hunter did.
Yep.
Number 10 pick in '93 draft, I think. But it was number 10 pick right out of Jackson State.
Yeah, I think he was same draft as Allen Houston. They came in together, I think.
He was, yes.
With the Pistons,
With the Pistons.
Yeah.
Totally correct.
So now, I know you ended up going to Alabama, University of Alabama, to play basketball in college. So how did you end up there?
Well, they recruited me hard. You know, at the time I was, one of the top players in the country, arguably the top point guard in the country. So I had my pick of the litter where I wanted to go to school, and I chose to go to Alabama. I liked everything about it. Loved the coaching staff, and my experience was great. I wouldn't change it for the world. The only way I would change it if, HBCUs was, had a more Williams coaching there. I think, that's the only thing today that I would change.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to get to that in a few because definitely I have a lot to say about that. So you played Alabama for about 2 years. You were all in the tournament and all that. And then after 2 years, you decide to enter the NBA draft. You get selected and you go to Utah your first year. So that was the year right after John Stockton retired, I think, right? Stockton and Malone. So what was that experience like?
It was great. I mean, I could have went to a better place. Obviously, Jerry Sloan, rest in peace. Phil Johnson was the head coach and top assistant. And they ran a system similar to what I ran in college, kind of a guard cut, wide pin down, kind of coming out pin downs, ducking in on this side. So it was just similar. And they ran the program kind of a semi-pro, not like a pro. So it was kind of a mix between college and professional. So it was the perfect place to go as a rookie because it kept me grounded, kept me working. And then obviously after I left there to Milwaukee, that's when I realized, this is what the pros about. If you ain't doing it on your own, you ain't gonna get it done, and you're gonna be out of here. So it was a blessing to go to Utah as a rookie.
And yeah, so after that rookie year, I guess you get traded to Milwaukee. So I guess you probably felt the tough part of the business early on and switching teams. I mean, but you had success in Milwaukee. You played there for a few years. So how was that experience for you?
That was great. That's where I got my start. I mean, obviously, in Utah, I actually ended up playing. Jerry Sloan loved me so much and actually played me more than they expected, right? And I actually played pretty well. And Milwaukee came and just offered me more money than they was willing to pay. That's what happened. And I ended up going back to Utah. So they always wanted me to come back. They always hated losing me, but that was just kind of the business side of it. But Milwaukee gave me my first opportunity. I was young. My second year in the league, I started every game, and I was able to grow, and I was able to get better.
Yeah, you got a great opportunity there and really did your thing, and that allowed you to be traded to the Cavaliers where LeBron was. And I know LeBron's last 2 years there, his first time with the Cavaliers, you were there those last 2 years with him, and you all won 60 games, both of those years and all that. Your first year there, you all went to the finals, lost to Orlando. The next year, Boston, second round, beat you all. But, I mean, how was that just,
That experience was great. I was young, and that was my first time kind of on that level. So I couldn't wait to get back there, especially down, my 13th year when I got back there, when I went back to Cleveland. But it was a great experience. I was an all-star one of those years. We won a lot of games. We just fell short at the end. And I wish I could have those moments back, but those moments made me stronger. It made me better. I just continued to grow after those moments, and I was blessed enough to come back in 2016 and be a part of it get a championship per se.
Yeah, and that was the first championship for Cleveland
since 2 years.
Yeah, right. And that whole thing, you all were down 3-1 in the finals, and you all rallied back to win the finals. That's so much.
Only time it's ever been done.
Yeah,
I don't see that being done again.
I mean, so much history made, and so, I mean, so much in there. I know it's a lot, but what do you most remember about that experience?
I remember the parade. I remember, we getting up in the morning on parade day, and there's 1.5 million people downtown, and it was people standing on top of buildings, on poles. I mean, you name it. I mean, the experience was second to none.
All right, folks. So that was part one of the interview. Okay, now I'm going to play the second part of it, okay? And You see, the first part of it went very well. Now, I had an issue with him as the interview concluded, and I'm going to give you all that, okay? All right, folks, and we are back. Taking place at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey this weekend, I had the chance to speak with Jackson State men's head basketball coach Mo Williams before game day. The interview was going well as I asked him questions about his basketball journey and NBA career. After a few minutes, the Jackson State PR guy, who was behind the screen, kept signaling for me to wrap up the interview, and I hadn't even gotten a chance to ask the coach about his experience coaching at HBCU. Mind you, there was no other media there trying to talk to the coach. Now, when you look at the top college basketball and football teams, the rosters are filled with black athletes. Without them, none of these top athletic schools are competing for either of these two championships. Clearly, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to see that the top black athletes don't want to go to HBCUs in this day and age because they don't. Plain and simple. There were several things I wanted to ask the coach about his experience coaching at HBCU, but because of time limitations, this is how it went down.
Experience was second to none.
Okay, I want to ask you about your experience coaching and all that. Now, okay, here at Jackson State, HBCU, and there's a lot there, but so you're in your hometown, you're coaching. I know Dion was here coaching the football team before he left, so almost out of time. So I guess, if you could, how could you sum up just your experience being here about 2 years so far and just HBCU trying to get these black kids to go to HBCU and not,
I don't recruit just black kids. I recruit basketball players first and foremost, and I don't look at it as an HBCU, we're a Division I program. I think people get it misconstrued that this HBCU is different from Division I. We're a Division I program.
Okay. I have a number of issues with what the coach is saying here. And again, the school PR guy is behind the camera signaling for me to end the interview, so I had to wrap it up and did not stop him and say this the way I should have. The coach is quick to jump out and says that he doesn't just recruit black kids and that he recruits basketball players. Okay, fine. Even though there is not one non-black kid on his Jackson State team, and two, someone out there let me know when the last time was that a top white football or basketball recruit signed on to play their college years at an HBCU. Somebody out there, please let me know that. But of course, the top black athletes run to predominantly white institutions, PWIs, to play all the time, including Mo Williams when he was coming out of high school. He says he is from Jackson, Mississippi, but Jackson State was only good enough for him to be affiliated with once he could no longer get a spot on the NBA roster. He then essentially says that he doesn't like the term HBCU because he doesn't look at it as an HBCU. That's what he said. Quote, I don't look at it as an HBCU. I look at it as a Division I program. Well, of course it's a Division I program. My question is, why are you coaching at HBCU if you have a hang-up of the term HBCU in relation to your team and university? Okay, let's continue.
And we just happen to be HBCU. I mean, people don't say, ACC Duke. They say Duke.
Yeah.
They say the University of Alabama, correct? They say SEC Alabama.
Right. Okay, well, newsflash, Coach. No one refers to Jackson State as HBCU Jackson State or HBCU Hampton, HBCU Norfolk State either. And the PWIs are referred to as PWIs like HBCUs are referred to as HBCUs in this context, right? I mean, every school is a PWI predominantly white except for HBCU. So there's no need for it to be said if it's not an HBCU, all right? When it's an HBCU, yeah, it's an HBCU because every other school is predominantly white. So the few that aren't, that has to be noted, okay?
So I don't really look at it as we're a Division I program, and we're trying to compete for the same championship everybody else is, and that's my goal. And I'm just worried about us. If I can be the best version of me every day, then my guys will be the best version of them.
Last one for you. Last one. All right, so I went to an HBCU. I'm from New York. No HBCUs up here. I wanted to go to one. I know how the HBCU teams, basketball, talking about competing, it's about talent. Top talent they don't want to go to HBCUs. What do you think that can be done to just change that mindset? Because with basketball, you get 2 or 3 top players, they can be one of the top teams in the country, It can happen that fast. What do you think? How do you think that could happen?
I don't think that top talent don't want to go to HBCU. I don't think that's the case. I think it's just they're thinking about their future, right? Mm-hmm. And they're thinking about resources, what you have available for them to actually get better. And typically, the bigger conferences, have more resources. So I don't think it's a point or a fact that top talent just don't want to go to HBCU.
So you say resources. What? Because
Well, it's just, nutrition, what kind of weight program you have, you name it. I mean, we have all those things, but Power 5 have it, at a 10 times different level. Just as far as all those type of things, they're going to look at, the top talent going to look at, and it's going to be hard for them to turn that down when they have those options.
All right, folks, here with Jackson State head coach and NBA champion Mo Williams. Mo, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, mind you, the Jackson State PR guy is behind the scenes the entire time telling me to wrap it up, so I can't follow up. I'm in a hurry right now, yada, yada, trying to get my thoughts together. But the elephant in the room when it comes to any of these big HBCU events is how the top black talent in the black community does not want to and does not play for any of these schools, okay? Today, during this TNT broadcast of this Legacy Classic, you're not going to hear one word about that, okay? Not one word. Now, Mo Williams, he did not want to associate himself. He never was associated with the HBCU until he could not play in the NBA anymore, and he wanted to coach, and no PWI gave him opportunity, so HBCU did. So he's now at HBCU representing them, but as you see, he has a hang-up on the term HBCU being used in relation to his team basketball program and university. And when he talks about resources, that's what all these people say, resources. When I ask them, why isn't it that these black top athletes don't go to HBCUs? And the first thing all these people say is, oh, these PWIs have better resources, okay? Which to me is nonsense, because the only resource that matters is money. And no university can legally pay any of these athletes. So these athletes are not being paid by any of these big schools that you see them all running to, okay? They're not. The reason why these kids go there is because they think it's their best chance to get to the pros, and I get that. I understand that. But if the only reason why these schools, these top schools we see, Duke, Kentucky, yada, 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 are the best basketball and football programs is because the top black athletes run to those schools and make those schools the best, okay? If they went to PWIs, okay? If they went to HBCUs, the best black talent, the HBCUs would have the best football and basketball team, right? That's really how it's supposed to be. When you think about it, it's not that hard of a concept. But I get it, okay? Everyone is trying to get to the pros, and these big white institutions are the ones who are on television, right? So that's all anybody thinking about. But that goes back to Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, at Jackson State, where Mo Williams is now the head coach of the basketball team, and it's like Deion was on his way to changing that mindset. But when you hear Mo Williams and people talk about these kids, these top black recruits go to these PWIs because of resources, and they mention nutrition and weight room, please. Does anybody think that an 18-year-old kid is going to a university because of the nutrition program or the weight room? No, please, stop, okay? A lot of these kids came up under very, very, normal, humble circumstances and have had to use and play through all kinds of conditions and are not worried about how the gym facility is when they are considering where they're going to school. They're going where they think they can get to the pros the fastest. And when Coach Prime was at Jackson State, like, he showed, we saw him get the #1 recruit in the country, Travis Hunter, in football to go to an HBCU, okay? So all that resources, PWIs have better resources, that's nonsense, okay? That is hogwash. The only reason why these top black athletes go to these PWIs is because, in their mind, it's the fastest and best way to get to the pros. But if the best black talent was going to HBCUs, again, the way Deion was on the verge, all right, he was beginning to get these kids to understand and see. If that happened and there was a shift, you would see Hampton, Howard, Norfolk State, Southern, Grambling, all these schools would be the ones that we see every day on CBS and ESPN getting that top revenue. All right, folks, I'm on my way to the doubleheader in Newark, and I'll have a lot more on this subject later. All right, folks, we're back. All right, and so that was a report I did on, right, a interview with Jackson State head coach Mo Williams, former NBA player. So no need to we're about 5 minutes left in the show. So that pretty much explained itself. Not enough time to talk any more about that, but you all clearly understand how I feel and why I feel that way. Now, I mentioned to you all that I was going to try and play this Kobe Bryant report I did, which was 2 days before the LeBron report that I played, where LeBron dropped a 52-point triple-double on the Knicks. And let me, you know what? So we're almost out of time. Let me try and play this for y'all, okay? This was 15 years ago, and 15 years and 2 days ago. We're back. Kobe's Broadway show turns into a record-breaking night at the Garden.
119-103 Lakers. Kobe's going to go for 60. Here he is on the left wing now. Drives, stops, spins, fires, and hits! Oh my goodness! Kobe Bryant has 59.
And Gus Johnson had the call for 1050 radio last night as Kobe Bryant put on a show in front of the star-studded crowd under the bright lights of Madison Square Garden on Monday night. The Knicks had a modest 3-game winning streak coming into the ball game, and with 2.5 months left until the end of the regular season, the Knicks stand a couple of games back from the 8th and final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. But on Monday night, the Knickerbockers were rendered helpless as Kobe Bryant came into Madison Square Garden with stars in his eyes and lit up the hometown team for a Madison Square Garden record 61 points in only 36 minutes of action en route to leading his LA Lakers to a 126-117 victory. Last night's performance was the 5th time in Bryant's career that he scored 40 or more points at Madison Square Garden, and it also marks the 24th time in his career that he scored 50 points in a game, and his 61 points is the most points scored by a player in the show this season. The previous high mark for the most points scored against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden was the double nickel drop by Michael Jordan on March 28th of 1995. That was just 10 days after Jordan announced he was coming back to the NBA from an early retirement and a 1.5-year stint in baseball's minor league system.
Michael was coming back off of a 1.5 years off. I don't know if it was his 3rd game back after that period of time off. He wasn't really totally himself as a player yet. And we just stuck him in the post in that particular night. I don't know if he could have 8 threes like Kobe did tonight. He had 3-point plays, obviously, but he shot 8 threes in that game. He was just posting up and working it. Totally different team, obviously, that the Knicks had at that time than is playing at this particular time. They had big guys in the post. Both remarkable performances, but I was surprised that that's a Garden record.
That man, of course, needs no introduction at all. Lakers head coach Phil Jackson has had the experience of coaching both Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan on the historic nights at the Garden. And the former Knick, Jackson, who was on the last New York Knicks championship team in 1973, has won 9 championship rings with Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan combined. As the final seconds ticked off the clock in the 4th quarter, the Madison Square Garden crowd who have had little to get excited about over the past few years, began to serenade Kobe with MVP chants after his historic performance.
You know, this place is special because the fans they'll boo you the whole game, but they appreciate the game. You know, and I think tonight, it felt great to get that reaction from these fans because it's just them, saying we love what you do. It was a great performance, and for them to celebrate that at that moment felt great. But the building is special because it's the last one left. You have the Boston Garden, which I never played in, the Forum. And then there's this building, and this is the last one that holds all the memories and all the great players and coming up the elevator shaft and thinking about Willis Street and thinking about Jerry West and all the great rivalries that they had in this building, and just makes it very special.
Kobe finished the night going 19 for 31 from the floor and went 20 for 20 from the free throw line against the New York defense. This is their head coach, Mike D'Antoni.
I thought the first half we contested a lot of shots that he made anyway. But the biggest problem, we put him on the line for 20 points. That's when you get crazy numbers, which he had tonight. But you got to take your hat off. He made some unbelievable shots, and we didn't really want to double all the time because he will find other guys, and we're trying to do the rope-a-dope a little bit where he might have shot himself out, but he didn't. He just kept on going.
Next up for Coach D'Antoni and the Knicks, the King, LeBron James, and his Cleveland Cavaliers on Wednesday night at the Garden. This is Samori Benjamin, and that's sports. All right, folks, we're out of time. So that was Kobe Bryant's 61-point performance. That was a Garden record until a few years later. I gave y'all that 2 weeks ago. That was Carmelo Anthony's 62-point performance in 2014. And earlier in the show today, I gave y'all LeBron 52-point triple-double. I was there for it all. Let's go Knicks. I'll see y'all next week. Thank you for joining. All right, folks. See you next week. Have a great Sunday. Next Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday. All right, folks. See y'all then.